Hello everyone, and welcome to the first video of Cisco CCNA series from Net Mastery Zone. In this video I'm going to have some introduction about not CCNA, about the network actually, and I'm not going to speak about the CCNA exam. Everyone can just with a small search can find all information about that in the Cisco website. I'm going to start actually the course. In the first video I'm going to have some theory, but in the future video I promised everything should be at least 90% should be practical, because you can find theory everywhere in the books, in the internet, in the other video trainings, but practically I think it's less video about the practical things, especially in the CCNA in the internet. Okay, let's start our presentation here. I just created a presentation about the CCNA, and it's just some introduction about the networking and networking fundamental. And the first question actually, when it comes, everyone say, okay, you are a network engineer, and then what is the network? The answer is very simple. This is a network. You can see that we have some devices connected together, and the main purpose of the creating a network is to share the resource. For example, in this network you can see that we have internet here, and also we have a printer here. Now all these devices can access to the internet, and also can print something in the printer. It means that in the first time when the network, the first computer is developed, then everyone thinks, okay, if we can connect these two computers together, then we can share some information between these two computers. And in that time actually the network is start, and it's not just sharing the devices, we can share for example files. Now when you connect to the internet and try to see a video in the YouTube, of course you will connect to a server, and that server will provide you a video that is stored in that server. Here in this network also we can, for example, connect a NAS drive here, a network storage drive, and then all these devices can access that files, movies, games inside that the NAS drive. Here you can see that we have different type of network connection. In the next slide we will go for that. And we have the wired connection. Now this two PCs connected with the wired, and these two devices, the iPod and also the laptop, is connected using the Wi-Fi. And also this printer is connected to this PC. It may be a USB or maybe a serial port or something, but this computer actually is able to share this printer to this network, and everyone in this network can access and print in this printer. Okay, in the next slide we let's see that what kind of the connection that we can have. We can have a wired connection and also a wireless network connection. In the let's speak about the wired and wireless network connections. You know that wired now it can be copper or fiber, and also in copper many different standards now available: Cat 4, Cat 5, Cat 6, and so on. And also in the fiber part also there is different connection, the single mode, multi-mode, and so on. And in the wireless, you know that Wi-Fi is one of the most famous one, but there is a lot of different wireless connection, radio connection, 2G, 3G, 4G. Now there is 5G connections, and also we can say connection with laser. We can connect two different sites using a laser. Of course they have different standards, and they have a limitation in bandwidth, and also in the it can be point to point, point to multi-point, or it need to be have a direct side of view or non-side of view. for example, when you are using your mobile phone, it's not a direct side of view. Your mobile phone doesn't see the tower that you are connected to, but in some kind of the connection we need to connect our devices, and they should be exactly in front of each other and has a face-to-face see to each other. Okay, let's go to the next slide. In this slide, we can say the network fundamental, and this is the 7 layer of the OSI model. Let's just speak about this first 3 layers, and we will speak about the others in the future video when we actually get to that. In this, the first one is the physical layer. You can see that the cable and also network interface is I can say that they are in this category. The cables, as I say, it can be fiber, it can be a copper, or so on. And the second one is data link layer, and data link layer, it's layer 2. You may hear about layer 2 and layer 3 devices. This is a layer 2 devices light switch, and all the communication between switches will happen using the MAC address. And it's very important the MAC address is in the layer 2 OS of the OSI model. And then we can say about the network layer, and everything in this network layer is about the IP address. And we can say that the routers, they are in this category, and they are layer 3 devices. And okay, let's just learn these 3 layers, and for the rest, because they have some for example, if we speak about the transport layer, it's about the port and reliability of the device. Of course, let's say about this one also, because we are going to connect to our router using the SSH or Telenet, and in that one we will see the port number of this 2 different protocols. Okay, now let's speak about the router. What is the router? You can see different type of router here, and as we see in the last slide, that in the previous slide actually, the router are in the category of layer 3 OSI model. And why? Because it's using the IP address, and everything about the router is to make different networks using the different class, or I can say different network of IP address. You can see different network here, and for example, this one, the ISR 4351, and it's according to the need for the small organization, and also for medium and large organization. There is different type of the router, of course, with different power, with different price, different size, different type of the interfaces, and so on. But this one, you can see this links is the small, and I can say it is available now in everywhere, in every home. This is a wireless router actually, and it's a router. It's giving you the IP address, and it's communicate with the devices using IP addresses. Then it's a router. It's layer 3 device. Let's go to the next slide. Here, as you see here, they are the ISR routers. Cisco actually has 2 type of routers, the ISR and ASR router. Different between ISR and ASR router, you can see here that the ASR series of router, they are for enterprise and also for service providers, because they have of course very fast, I can say fast, or with a very huge bandwidth, and you can see here up to 100G, and also they are very powerful in the computing and also in the processing. But the ISR router, they are smaller, and they are will be used for the medium and small size of the network and organization, and they are of course less bandwidth, they supporting less bandwidth, and also they have a less processing power. Next, from this we can say speak about the switch. You can see different switch here, and we have a small switch like this with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 port, and also it has one uplink to connect this to the other switches, to a core switch or to the distribution switch. We will speak about the core switch and the distributed switch in this presentation. And also you can see the bigger one that with the 24 port and also 48 ports switches, and all of them, if you see that they have plus this 24 port, for example in this one they have 4 ports for uplinks here, and also for 48 ports you can see that we have 4 uplinks port here that will use to connect to other switches, like for to the access switch, to the distribution switch, or to the core switch. And here in the right you can see that we have a modular switch, and this kind of switch, they are very expensive switches, and they used in the data centers. You can see that everything in this switch are redundant. They have 2 power supply, and also you can see here they have 2 supervisor, and this switch is actually, if we remove one of this supervisor, the other one will be in the function, and it's designed to be hot swappable. We can remove this supervisor without turning off this switch. And also you can see different ports, different copper ports, I can say, that is added to this switch, and also it has some free slides here that we can connect other, for example, copper or the fiber ports here in this free module here. Okay. Again, switches, you can see that the smallest one here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with 5 ports, and also different other models, and all of them, of course, they have a uplink port here, and by default, actually, this ports, maybe if it's 100 base standard, it is 100 megabit per second, and but this uplink ports normally they have more bandwidth, they support more bandwidth. For example, if we connect 24 computers to this one, and all these 24 ports should be sent from one of these ports, then this port should have more bandwidth, and it may be 10G standard for more bandwidth here. And also, if you can see here that we have this red I can say ribbon here, sorry, red, not yellow, ribbon here, and this shows that these ports are PoE, power on Ethernet. It means that they can provide power also, and if you connect for example a IP phone here, Cisco IP phone, to this, and then the Cisco IP phone doesn't need any power adapter to turn on. Any devices that who needs the for example power supply, if we connect them to this PoE ports, they can turn on without using an extra power supply. For example, cameras, IP cameras, security cameras, and they actually, it makes our job very easy. For example, if we are going to connect a camera in the corridor, and then we need to connect actually a power adapter to that, and we should have a power plug near to our camera, then we connect that to the power. But if we use this PoE switches, you can see here also, if we use these PoE switches, then it doesn't need for connecting any power supply, and the power will come from this Ethernet port, and will function on your device. Okay, next you can see here that the SFP, I decided to speak about this SFP also, the small form factor plug, and where actually this we connect this to this uplinks here. You can see that we have two uplinks here and they don't have any module for connecting our the copper cable or our fiber cable. But this SFP, we can, for example, connect this to this module, and then we can connect a copper to this, or we can connect maybe one of this. This is you can see this is 10G SFP, and we can connect this 10G SFP to this, and we can connect our fiber to this one, and then the other side of the fiber may go to the distribution switch actually. And it's called a small form factor plug, and they have different standard. You can see this one is a single mode, but sorry, it's a multi-mode, but this one is a single mode, and you can see this information actually is written here. For example, this one is 25G, and also if I can see, it's a single mode or multi-mode, it's MM or SM. It has a standard, and it's written on this different devices, and you can check it. Okay, let's go to different type of network architecture. We have 2-tier, 3-tier, and spin leaf. Okay, let's speak about this. And as we also speak about the distribution switch also, you can see here this is the 2-tier architecture, and this architecture actually is good for the medium and a small, medium size of organization. Small maybe use just access switches, but in the medium size of organization like this, we first have a distribution switch, and that distribution switch is connected to the access switch. Then the users will connect to these access switches. Why we using this layer of the switches here? Because when we try to connect, for example, two buildings together, and we cannot actually connect our access switches. It's not a good practice to connect the access switch, all access switch together, and then bring an uplink to another access switch to this building. And because of that, we just put an distribution switch in every building, and then connect this distribution switch together, and then we can connect our access switches to the distribution switch, and all other users will be connected to the access switch. This is the 2-tier architecture. It only have the access switch, and also you can see it's called this core, we can say core layer, and it's a backbone. Let's speak about the 3-tier. Here you can clearly see that the distribution switches, first we have core switches, and this core switches is connected to the distribution switches, and then distribution switches is connected to the access switch. Of course, the users will get access using this access switches. This network architecture actually, it's a very good practice for the distributed buildings. For example, one organization has different department in different place of this one city, or different place of many cities. In this case, actually they just create one server room, and put two core switches in that server room, and then these core switches will be connected to different buildings in different places, and then to the distribution switches, and that distribution switches will be connected to the access switches in that building. For example, if we speak about this one, maybe this one is in the one server room, and this one is in another server room. This for example, this 4 distribution switches, and maybe this 2 is in the one building in one place, and this 2 is another building, and that building is maybe far away from this building actually, and then they are connected to these switches, and then access switch will get access from this different distribution switches. And then we have a spin leaf here. A spin leaf actually, it's like a 2-tier architecture, and The difference between this is that the spin leaf switch, actually, if you see in this diagram, the spin layer, actually they are layer 3 switches, and they are layer 3 switches, and then the leaf switches is connected to them. Layer 3 switch, what is mean that they are switches, they can do the routing and also they can do the switching. Then we can actually configure any different interfaces, VLAN interfaces, loopback interfaces, and also we can configure IP address to the interfaces, physical interface of this layer 3 switches. And then this leaf, then the leaf is connected to the users, actually needs the access, and mainly I believe this will be used for connecting the servers inside the data centers. Okay, and if we compare these two together, you can see that we have the core switch, the aggregation or distribution switch, and then the access switch with the 3-tier and the 2-tier spin leaf architecture. You can see there is only 2 layers, and one of these layers are layer 3 switches. Okay, our presentation is done here, and in this video actually we speak about different first about the network, and then the OSI model, and then different type of the network devices. And if I show you here, this is actually the blueprint of the CCNA exam 200-301, and you can see the price of the timing. It's 2 hours, and I believe in the time that I'm recording this video, the price for this exam is $400, and it's some question, and you have to take 940 from 1000 to pass the exam, and it has some 3 or 4 practical labs, and the other is the question. It's question for radio question, actually, to select one, or the multi-choice question, and also some drag and drop. You can find the sample of the exam in the different website, you can see, and also you can see the blueprint here, and the percentage of the different parts. For example, for the network fundamental, it's 20%, and also network access, and so on. You can check this, it's available in the Cisco website. In this video we actually speak about the network fundamentals, and also about the routers, layer 2 and layer 3 switches, and also access point. You see that it's the router with the actually Wi-Fi. I'm speaking about the simple one, and also we speak about the endpoints, the computers, the telephones, IP phones, and also maybe security cameras, and so on. And then we speak about 2-tier, 3-tier, and spin leaf. And then in the future video we are going to speak about this others, but in the next video I'm going to speak about the router, and not just speak about that. I'm going to do some configuration and show you how you can configure your router when you open it from the box. Okay, let's finish our video here. Thank you for watching, and please follow us for the next video from the CCNA series.